What is up, everyone? Sergeant Artie right here. And what? Why is it? Okay.
Snowfall making.
By the way, no, I did not watch ahead. I only watched like 30 seconds. I don't know why it went to 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Well, anyways, whatever. Today we're reacting to The Downfall of Italy, 1944 to 45. Part 2 of 2 by the Armchair Historian, literally made 2 days ago. Yeah, very cool. Tomorrow, my video will be out about the how to design a tank destroyer by the chieftain. Today, I'm gonna be publishing 3 videos because why not? And yeah, I'm only 5 subscribers. I'm 5 subscribers away from 195 subscribers, which means we'll be doing our live stream. So make sure to not miss it. Make sure to subscribe so we can get there. Without further ado, let's get started.
With winter rapidly closing in, the Allies had little time to prepare for their assaults on Kesselring's masterpiece. An innovator in both military tactics and apparently chess, the gambit we've named after the German general includes distracting your opponent and quickly switching out all of your pawns for castles. On the 1st of December, the first probing attacks began in the west, made against a large bulge in the German defenses known as the Bernhardt Line. Conditions were terrible, with freezing temperatures and...
Oh, jeez, look at that tank! It's like stuck in the snow.
Heavy snowfall making for an agonizing trek for the soldiers as they struggled their way through hostile terrain. After several weeks of intermittent engagements, the Allies were only able to wrestle a number of small villages away from enemy control. In the end, it was the Germans who decided to withdraw, falling back to the more tenable Gustav Line in early January.
Gustav Line, I've heard all about this. This, literally would hold the Allies off forever.
While the 5th Army was busy dying in the snow, the 8th Army also found itself preoccupied with, well, dying in the snow. The 8th had attacked the Gustav Line on the 4th of December and made significant headway, but then the Germans made a strategic withdrawal through a deep gully, which funneled the Commonwealth forces into a carefully prepared killing ground. Any unit entering the gully was brutally mauled, and Allied progress was completely stalled until German forces withdrew to a new position on the 20th. The next set of battles for the Gustav Line took place at the towns of Ortona and Orsonia. The former proved an absolute nightmare for the Canadian units assigned to capture it, as they were forced to engage in some of the bloodiest street fighting on the Western Front. The German parachute battalion defending the town had dug in deep and had to be fought from building to building in a protracted struggle that resulted in roughly 4,500 casualties altogether, decimating both the 1st Canadian Division as well as the civilian population. Orsonia, meanwhile, resisted every attack, holding out until a massive blizzard struck the Adriatic coastline and forced the British to halt their offensive. But even this could not...
Jeez, I didn't know there was this much snow in Italy. Italy is always portrayed as this, nice little... I don't know what you call it, but, a little beach thing. I don't know. Like a temperate climate, you know? I usually don't imagine snow. Well, I guess in the Alps, yeah, but this is way down in southern Italy. Right in the Mediterranean, all that. I don't know, it's weird. I didn't know there was this much snow in Italy.
And the bloodshed for long, and on January 14th, the 2 Allied armies launched yet another series of attacks on the line, starting the notorious battle for Monte Cassino. Before we enter the fray, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Europe. Total control over you. Once you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/armchairhistory.
Thank you, Squarespace.
First assault was conducted by the British and resulted in little more than 3 days of pointless slaughter. 2 more attacks failed due to either terrain or a lack of armored support, and
this sort of resembles World War One and the brutal trench fighting there. Like, this is the closest it's ever gotten in World War II.
Fourth ended with minor gains that were promptly abandoned due to the lack of supplies. After these repeated failures, the Allies authorized Operation Avenger, which fixated on the Monte Cassino Abbey as the linchpin.
Also, it shows these like little facts on mouses. So. Later, it was discovered to never have even been occupied by German
defense,
but instead by 230 civilians who were all killed during the bombing air raid. All of them? Whoa, that's hard to believe. Wow. Well, that sucks.
In the area. On February 15th, a huge bomber raid reduced the abbey to a smoldering pile of rubble. Unfortunately, the raid was badly coordinated and was not followed up by a ground assault, so in the end, little was accomplished. While this was ongoing, the Allies had also conducted a naval landing near the city of Anzio to outflank the Gustav Line.
Oh, I've heard about this one. This one is, like, horrible. There was, like, a lack of coordination between the commanders. Like, each level of command had a different idea of what it was. So, really, the plan sort of fell apart.
But after landing relatively unopposed, General John P. Lucas made the inexplicable decision to dig in and fortify his position rather than push inland. Kesselring promptly wheeled his reserves about and smashed into the beachhead, beginning a long battle of attrition that would last until May. Meanwhile, the third battle for Cassino began on March 15th, with a creeping barrage that disordered the German line. But this ray of hope was quickly snuffed out by heavy rains, giving the Germans time to prepare. However, by
now the Germans are having a lot of luck here.
Clear that the Axis was losing the battle of attrition, and the final breakthrough came on May 11th, when both the 8th and 5th armies attacked at once.
Oh, there's even French soldiers over here. Look at the bottom. That's cool.
Aided by the French Expeditionary Corps and even some Polish forces. This last tremendous push finally fractured the Gustav Line, which held for nearly 6 months.
Wow.
But although the main
Congratulations.
line of Axis defenses had been breached, there was still much to be done, and the push north continued. A breakout was also staged at Anzio with the help of an artillery bombardment and close air support. In danger of becoming encircled, Kesselring received
what just happened? Whoa! Look at the German soldiers.
Bombardment and close
air. We just all die.
Air support. In danger of becoming encircled, Kesselring received orders to fall back.
General Clark's decision would be a black mark on an otherwise exemplary service record. Him intense ridicule from both his fellow officers and the media.
Right at the pivotal moment, General Mark Clark decided to ignore orders to pursue the German army and instead drove towards Rome. Unable to believe his luck, a delighted Kesselring quickly pulled back to yet another set of defensive works, codenamed the Gothic Line.
There's so
much blood had been shed, the actual capture of Rome was something of an anticlimax. With German attention turning towards the inevitable invasion of France, the city had all but been abandoned. After a few brief skirmishes, Rome was liberated on June 4th. Just 2 days prior to the landings in Normandy. Getting there had required 600,000.
Yeah, what's interesting is that, like, whenever Rome was taken, it wasn't really recognized at the time because, obviously, the liberation of Rome and the Normandy invasion, they happened near the same time. So whenever it was published in the newspaper, the front cover was always about Normandy. And Rome being liberated was always, like, near the back.
1,000 Allied troops, over 100,000 of which had become casualties since the day they first landed in Italy.
That is what you call an
But despite their grievous losses, there was little time to rest and recuperate. Kesselring had proven a genius at defensive warfare, and leaving him to his own devices would undoubtedly prove disastrous. Thus, British and American...
Wait, what is it? What is that little box?
American armies raced up the coast only to be checked yet again at the improvised Trasimene line encountered on June 20th.
What's the point of that box?
Stalled for another week, the Germans had ample time to move the bulk of its army to the Apennine Mountains. Infuriated but impotent, the Allies could do nothing but resign themselves to yet another long, grinding siege. On August 25th, the Allies launched Operation Olive, aimed at breaching the Gothic line and finally ending the seemingly eternal battle for Italy. The Eighth Army was to attack German positions along the Adriatic coast, and when Kesselring had committed his reserves to that area, Mark Clark's Fifth Army would strike at the weakened center, breaking through to Bologna. Initial progress was good, but Kesselring continued to pull his old tricks and refused to be lured into fighting on unequal terms. By the end of September, the Allies had...
Kesselring was also a master at predicting his enemies, slowly contracting his lines to avoid encirclement, never allowing a major breakthrough to occur.
Clambered their way over the peaks of the Apennine Mountains, having suffered 14,000 casualties. Then autumn rains.
Oh my gosh, look at this. Look how much of Italy has been taken.
Stalled further attacks, grounding air support and turning vital supply routes into impassable quagmires. At this point, the remainder of 1944 would be spent in a deadlock, with a single-axis counterattack in December managing to briefly reoccupy a section of the Gothic line. Although Kesselring had done a spectacular job in Italy, his position was about to change drastically. He was severely injured in a car crash in October, and upon his recovery found himself replacing Field Marshal Geert von Rundstedt as commander of the entire Western Front on March 10th. Even he could do nothing but watch the final collapse of the Third Reich, as Allied troops were already pouring into Germany itself. In spring of 1945, the Allies launched their final offensive in Italy, Operation Grapeshot. During the months-long stalemate, the 5th and 8th Armies had been reinforced by a diverse collection of units from various nations, including several thousand British-trained Italian volunteers and even a division from the Brazilian Expeditionary Force.
Wow, that is interesting.
The attack began on April 6th with a long artillery bombardment.
April 6th? Like, I don't even think Germany wouldn't be defeated until May, or something like that. So, what? Wow, Italy is they're still holding. That is incredible.
Then attacks all along the line by Commonwealth troops. Without any reserves left, the Germans could no longer do anything but desperately try to...
Progress was steady. Much of the initial fighting being done by the New Zealand and Indian divisions.
Hold the line. However, the situation was hopeless. By the 20th of April, the two Allied armies had broken into the Po Valley, and only 5 days later Mussolini was dragged out of hiding by Italian partisans and summarily executed. With no reason left to fight, Kesselring's replacement opened up negotiations with the Allies and signed a surrender order on May 2nd, just a few days before the official end of the war in Europe. After so many gambits and clever plays, the chessboard of Italy had been cleared. The final handshake between players would occur at last, a year and a half after the start of their unexpected rematch. In many ways, the Italian campaign showcased both the best and worst moments from the Second World War. The idea to divert forces from the Eastern Front was sound, but internal division quickly turned the campaign into an unfocused mess. Supplies were diverted to other operations, and arguments among Allied generals led to missed opportunities and long delays. Kesselring also demonstrated exactly how deadly the Wehrmacht could be on the defense, holding out for over a year against a much greater force, which by that point possessed total air superiority.
And it's not necessarily because the Wehrmacht was, like, incredible or anything. Like, at that point, the Wehrmacht in Germany itself, and probably the rest of the Axis, they were extremely low on resources. Oil, food, etc. And also, they had a supply issue. They didn't have enough supplies to give to their troops. And by late in the war, probably by 1944 or so, they had a manpower issue, which would be very bad. And they also had a huge officer issue, because they didn't have enough officers. And so the Wehrmacht at this time, in 1944, was pretty bad. So I think the credit goes more to Kesselring, because he's going to be like a great general, to be honest. Like, the Wehrmacht at this time, they were in pretty bad shape. So yeah, Kesselring. I haven't really heard of him much, but now I have. Apparently he's great. He's a pretty great general, from what I know.
But the battles in Italy kept hundreds of thousands of German soldiers occupied at a time when manpower was critically low, and the experience gained from the amphibious landings at Salerno proved invaluable to the planners of D-Day. Still, historians remain divided on the campaign, with many arguing that it was an outright strategic failure, but others see it as part of a bigger picture.
I would say that the invasion of Italy wasn't really necessary, to be honest. Because the Allies, they took disproportionate losses a lot of the time in their battles. And the Soviet Union, yeah, it was suffering in 1943, but it could still hold its own. It was still doing pretty well. Like, it wasn't going to lose or anything. And, yeah. It also meant that... Because there was, like, a bunch of German troops just waiting, basically, for the Allies to strike in Italy. They're just waiting there. And the Allies, they could have used the troops that they would have used in Italy somewhere else. And the German troops would have been stuck there in Italy, just waiting for something to happen. So, you know, just my opinion. Invasion of Italy wasn't very necessary.
A necessary, even vital component to the fall of the Axis powers and the liberation of Europe.
But yeah, that was.
Thanks again to Squid.
Okay. Wow. I feel like it ended fast. They should be like Epic History, where they have like an 8-part series to stuff like this. Like, it'd be really cool to have a 5-part series, The Downfall of Italy. Or even like a 3-part series, one 1943, two... No! For 1942 first. Because of Operation Torch. They can do it where Italy loses all of their colonies in Africa for 1942. The Allies land 1943. Allies push up 1944, 1945. They're defeated. That would have been a cool idea. But anyways, whatever. Just my opinion. Hello everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. And, you know, turn on the notification bell thingy. And if you didn't, then make sure to leave a thumbs down. But yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, go ahead and watch my other videos. They're probably just as good, and if not better than this one right now. Except for my oldest videos, don't watch those. And, you know, subscribe to these people down here, my fellow sergeants. They're other YouTubers that I either know or I have in high regards. Yeah, even my cat agrees. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.